Oh, la, si, lo, la, si, lo, oh, la, so, la. My followers, I have summoned you here with an important message. Watch this episode of Creature Madness with your host, me, Gus from Askewed Reviews. Now, if you don't know what Creature Madness is, let me tell you more about this. This was a creation by my friend Matthew over at Horror Madness, where he decided to create a movie club. He invited a few of his friends, and now what we do is each week we all watch the same creature feature film, and then each of us does our own review for all of you. And aside from myself and Matthew, the other members of this group are Ashley, Karen, Jen, Ryan, Bambi, and Amariah. And speaking of Amariah, it was her turn to choose the movie that we watched. And she chose the 1987 film, The Gate, directed by Tibor Takas. This is not only, in my opinion, an 80s classic, but also probably one of the first horror movies that I got to watch and really get into. And for my Askewed viewers out there that are going, wait a minute, I could swear I've seen you do a review on this before. I have. I actually did trivia reviews for both this film and its sequel. And if you want to check those out after you've watched this video, feel free to look those up either on the Askewed Reviews YouTube or TikTok channels. Now, if you've never seen The Gate before, let me tell you a little bit more about the story to see if this is something that you'd be interested in checking out. So, near the beginning of our story, we meet two of our main characters, a brother and sister named Glenn and Al. Now, their parents have decided that it's a great idea for them to go take a 3-day vacation with the kids being home by themselves. Al is 15, but I don't know exactly if that's the right age to just leave two kids alone in a home for a few days. Now, of course, since there's no parental guidance, they decide to have some friends over. Al invites some of her friends from school, and Glenn invites his best friend Terry to stay the night. Now, this could have easily just been a film about children rebelling against their parents, but because this is a horror movie, there's a lot more involved here. Recently, Glenn had a nightmare about lightning striking his treehouse and knocking it over. And then the very next morning, he ends up finding out that that actually did happen. And then beneath the treehouse, there's a little bit of a pit. So he and his friend Terry decide to go down there, and what they discover is this odd rock. And when it's cracked open, there appears to be a geode inside that causes some weird wording to appear before them. Now, being the fact that all they have to understand this is a heavy metal album, they of course decide to read the language, which is a terrible idea in any horror movie situation. Getting back to the parents being gone and the kids having this house party, well, things start to get very out of hand as some weird things start to happen, and all of a sudden these tiny little demon creatures start showing up as well. Things only seem to spiral more and more out of control from there, as they may have unfortunately opened up a portal to hell. So I'll stop there, but hopefully that is all enough to interest you in checking out The Gate. So I'm still going to agree with my earlier assessment of giving this film a 3 out of 5. It is a great classic I do recommend checking out, and if you want to watch it, it's currently streaming for free on Tubi. Now, as a brief spoiler warning, this is the part of Creature Madness where I start to go more in depth about the creatures from the film itself. So if you don't want anything ruined for you, go and watch the movie and then come back to this video. So the first creatures I'm going to mention are these little minion demons. Now, they don't seem to be too much of an issue, more of just an annoyance, but they do seem to be a precursor to what's coming next. And that would be this big old son of a bitch. This guy is huge. And more than likely, he is probably some sort of master demon. Probably not the old gods, but he could be one of them, which is something that gets more talked about in the sequel film, which is another one I do recommend checking out at some point. But I do believe this is just more of a higher tier demon. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Creature Madness. And if you'd like to see what everyone else did for their review on this film, just look up the hashtag Creature Madness.